Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trip Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Mukund Umesh Thakkar to the show. Mukund is the founder of Mastermind Bicycle Studio, which is a chain of retail stores selling the sport of cycling to the most high-end and premium brands in the world of cycling and triathlon. And this business is based out of India. And today I'm going to ask Mukund a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talks, Mukund.
Thanks, Sushant. It's a pleasure, and I'm very happy to know that this is the first Indian business I think you're interviewing on your Trip Talk.
Yes, first, but hopefully not the last.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I'm very interested to learn about your story. How did you come to start this business, and what were you doing before? Can you share a little bit about your entrepreneurial startup story?
To be honest, Sushant, my bicycling journey it just started. It was destiny, I would say. Not many people would would accept the fact that if I say that I don't remember ever riding a bicycle in my school days. I mean, maybe in my childhood, just going around the society campus, and that's all. That's all. My association with a bicycle was in my childhood. I never cycled around in my school days or my college days, in my graduation. Never. I mean, there was no time because I was quite a studious boy, I would say, in school and college. So I did my chemical engineering from Mumbai University. Then I went on to do my MBA from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, again in Mumbai. I passed out in 2012 after doing my MBA, and I joined my family business. We have a family business into chemicals. So precisely why I had ventured into chemical engineering for my graduation. So I joined my family business in 2012. And just as a fitness, I started going to the gym, just to keep myself fit. And then one day, a friend of mine who just came to know that I go to the gym, and I try to keep myself fit, and he threw me a challenge that, okay, Mukund, the real fitness is outdoors, not indoors. That's what his words were. And he told me that, let's go and run a marathon, a half marathon, so to call it. So let's do 121-kilometer run. That is real fitness if you can do that. And I took up that challenge quite seriously. And I was like, uh, I was a lot overconfident at that time that 21 kilometer, I think that should be easy, because I go to the gym, I lift weights, I run on the treadmill in the gym, so I can do that. And I went in for that half marathon. I remember it was in Mumbai. I think I couldn't run beyond 8 or 9 kilometers, if I remember correctly. After that, even walking was difficult. It was a torture. So I went back home, both my knees, inflamed. I went to the orthopedic doctors, and everybody told me that, outdoor fitness is a lot more different than indoor fitness. No matter how strong you are at lifting weights in the gym, but if you want to go out running, cycling, you need a different level of cardiovascular endurance. You need a different set of muscular endurance. It's a different ball game. So I told my doctor that, okay, fair enough. I just don't want to go back to gym again. I mean, I will, but apart from that, I have to build real fitness. So my doctor said, okay, then why don't you start cycling? Because you need to give your knees some rest for a couple of months, because they are inflamed because of your running stunt. So why don't you do cycling? It will help you in your recovery, and it's also an outdoor sport. And I said, okay. So that's how I started cycling. I borrowed a bike from one of my friend, Surat Subramaniam. I borrowed his bike. I started cycling 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. And as time grew, I found a very good cycling group in my locality. It's called Mulund Riders. I give a lot of credit to that group for where I am today, because I got my cycling foundations in that group. So we started cycling 30 kilometers, then 40, then 50, and within I think 2 or 3 months we started it. I ended up doing my first century ride. We call it 100 kilometers. So that's how the journey began. So then the cycling fever caught up, and I think after 3 or 4 months of just getting into cycling, I was supposed to travel to Europe for just a leisure trip, but I don't know what came to my mind. And by that time I had ended up buying a new bike, my own. So I don't know what came to my mind. I thought of just taking my bicycle along with me to London and Europe. So I went on Facebook. This was 2014. So I went on Facebook. I started searching for cycling groups in London. So I found one called More Adventure. And I got to know that during my dates of travel, they are cycling from London to Paris. So I asked them if I can join them, and they were more than happy to accommodate me. So I ended up doing the London to Paris cycling ride in 2014. It was a 4-day ride. Every day we had to ride around 130, 140 odd kilometers. So what happened in that ride, Sushant, those 4 days, the kind of culture which I saw in cycling, the kind of products, the kind of accessories, the kind of components, the whole style of riding, I would say the good practices of riding a bike, the good habits of riding a bicycle. I saw all that firsthand in those 4 days. And all through those 4 days, I was wondering in my mind that I wish I can take all this back to India. The kind of brands which I saw, the kind of products which I saw, the whole lot of knowledge which I gathered in those 4 days. So it was very liberating, very eye-opening. So, I never could imagine that cycling is at this stage globally compared to what we were doing in India back then. Today we are at a much better stage, of course, but back then it was not so good. So I went back home after that trip. I just remember sharing it with my father that I want to do something in India for cycling. I don't know what, and I don't know how, but maybe I'll open up a bike shop. So it was not a very comfortable decision with my father, because we are a small family. I'm the only son, and I have a sister. So just two of us, two siblings. So and she's 10 years younger to me. So at that time she was a student. She was studying physiotherapy. So there was no one to look after my father's business also. And so it was not a very comfortable decision with my dad. But then I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful to my parents. So he said that, okay, Mukund, if you have the passion, if you are really interested in doing something, okay, let us start. I mean, if you want to do it, do it. I will support whatever I can, and then we'll see where it goes. And I said, fine. So that's how the first store of Mastermind Bicycle Studio started in Mumbai. It was, of course, even today, I would not say we are in a very prime location in Mumbai, but it was a good place, a good secluded, cozy place, which we had as a family. So we built it up. And I remember I started business with around 6 to 7 brands back then in 2014. I wrote them emails and I told them I want to start selling, because, and those were the brands which I had seen in that London to Paris ride. There was one helmet brand, there was one bike bag brand. It was crazy. I mean, in fact, on that trip, I remember I was the only one who carried my bicycle in a cardboard box. Every one of them was carrying their bicycle in a bike bag. So I wrote to that company. So there were around 6 to 7 brands with which Mastermind started in 2014. And then as time went by, there was absolutely no looking back, Sushant. There was absolutely no looking back. Every year, I ended up adding 6 to 7 brands more, 8 to 10 brands more. And eventually today in 2022, I would say we have 38 international brands in Mastermind Bicycle Studio. We started with 6 and today we have 38. So God has been very kind. I would say destiny played its role, tremendous support from my parents and family. But I never imagined when I opened the first Mastermind Bicycle Studio store in Mumbai, I never imagined that, Mastermind would attain this scale, to be honest. Never had this in mind, Sushant.
That is really awesome. I know, like in India, there is a big bicycle culture to begin with, right? A lot of, and it is probably because most people probably don't have the income to support like a vehicle, four wheeler or something like that. So a lot of people use bicycle as a mode of transportation. So people are already into that culture. But what you brought with this business, more of the high end. This is not for the regular Joe. This is more, I'm assuming
Correct.
more for the young people who are looking for ways to improve their fitness, to keep themselves healthy, and maybe they also have a little bit of a disposable income to spend on high end bicycle products. Can you share a little bit about how um, the market that you have tapped into in India, and what are you finding about the people who are buying your products?
It's a very interesting thing, Sushant. If I say that, you said that the target market is young people who are looking at who are looking seriously at fitness, and that's what I thought when I started Mastermind. I thought the same way that my target is youth of India who wants to get into fitness, who's very passionate about sport in general, not just cycling, any sport, because it's every sport. If you talk about, it's picking up in India. F1, football, everything is apart. Of course, cricket is already at a very good level, I would say. But apart from cricket, if you talk about any other sport, every sport is growing gradually in India. So I thought that yes, the youth of the country would get into cycling. But if today you ask me what is the average age of the customer base of Mastermind, I think it would easily be above 45, Sushant. It's a
Wow.
very interesting, yeah, it's a very interesting and unique thing, which again I never imagined that that would be the target market of India. Because what is happening is, of course, in the last few years, I would say there are a lot of young customers of Mastermind also who have invested in some very good, expensive, high-end bikes. But those are the young people who have very good support from their parents. But apart from that, apart from those few privileged ones, there are a lot of people, the middle-age group between 40 to 50, who have worked hard in their life, who have achieved a reasonably good level in their careers, maybe compromising their health and fitness along the journey. And when the time comes, when the supposedly midlife crisis starts hitting you, that's when people realize that, okay, now enough is enough. This is where we draw the line. This is where we start focusing on our fitness. And this is where priorities change in life. And at that stage of life, you already have a good disposable income. Of course, most of our customers are from a very good educational background: lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, businessmen, all highly educated IT professionals. So they have a reasonably good amount of disposable income between the age of 40 to 50. That's when they start focusing on their fitness. So the easiest thing to start at that age is cycling compared to running. Because the most beautiful part about cycling is it is a non-impactful sport.
Yeah.
It has zero impact with the ground, because your bicycle is what is rolling on the ground, not your body. In running, your body takes a little bit of quite a bit of hit. Your knees take hit. So running beyond, so to start running, if you have crossed a certain age, it becomes challenging. I would not say it becomes impossible. I know people who have started running at the age of 50. So I'm not saying anything in black and white, but it becomes challenging. But to start cycling at any age, it's not as challenging as to maybe compared to any other sport. So that is one beautiful thing which was there about cycling. So that is how Mastermind picked up its clientele. So I would say our clientele is now a, a reasonably good mixture of youth who are wanting to get into fitness and who are privileged to have a set of who are privileged to have supportive parents willing to invest in their bicycle. And then there is another age group from 35 onwards or 40 onwards. So I would say in India, I have not found many people in the age group of 25 to 30, let's say, getting into cycling, getting into sport, because that's the age where you have just graduated from your college, graduated from your getting your educational degree, and that's the age where you have just started working in life, trying to figure out your career, trying to figure out what is right for your career, what is wrong for your career. So at that stage, fitness takes a backseat.
Yeah.
So 25 to 30 is the age, which is the age group which I would say is lacking. But yeah, beyond 30 and less than 25, that's what I would say the target market, and Mastermind is catering to them.
That makes a lot of sense. So you have basically created a bunch of retail stores across India, right? So are you primarily a retail business, or are you? I saw that you have a e-commerce presence also. Can you share how are people actually browsing and buying your products?
So it is a very unique model again, Sushant, which Mastermind Bicycle Studio has ventured into. Typically, if you see in India, most of the businesses which run in the retail setup, they run on the distributor dealer model. So the distributor is the one who imports the products from across the globe and brings it to India. And dealer is typically a retailer who is consumer facing. So what happened in Mastermind's case is when we started, we also went in the distributor dealer model. So we are the importers. We so all the as I mentioned, we have 38 brands in our portfolio today. So we import those 38 brands from across the globe to India. So we thought that, okay, let us find other retailers as well, because we were also one of the retailers in Mumbai, but at that time we did not have any stores anywhere outside Mumbai. So we thought that, okay, we will cater to the Mumbai market ourselves with our own store, and the rest of India maybe we'll cater through the retailers. But what happened when we started is, when you are in a very niche segment, I would say in 2015 we were ahead of time. We were much before time, I would say, to start this business, to start this premium bicycle business. I would say we were much before time in 2015. The culture was just starting to take an upward curve. So it was very difficult to find retailers across India who can do justice to our brands, who were willing to invest in our portfolio of brands, who were willing to take that little bit of risk, whether these brands will sell or not. So it was not a very confirmed business model. It was not written in stone anywhere that, okay, if you invest in our brands, you will make money, these brands will sell. It was not like that. It was a calculated risk. It was a leap of faith which had to be taken by everybody, not just the sellers, but even by the buyers, that, okay, I'm investing in even today in India, a 2 lakh rupee, in Indian rupees, 2 lakh rupee or a 3 lakh rupee bicycle is considered very premium. So it was a leap of faith which even the customers had to take, that, okay, I have to invest in a 3 lakh rupee bicycle. So it was not a very scalable model at that time. And then we realized that, okay, instead of finding retailers across India, why not we ourselves open stores across India, because in that model, we will not be dependent on anyone for selling our products. So we went into a very unique model where we ourselves are the distributors and we ourselves are the dealers. We had a few set of dealers who were buying from us, that's fine, but we chose not to be dependent on them too much. And that's how Mastermind started spreading, and that's how we went outside Mumbai for the first time. That was in 2018. E-commerce, I would say, how it happened in the cities where we were just not there, and where we didn't even intend to open a store. uh, Customers started calling our head office back into, even before we started expanding our retail network, even much before that. The customers from different cities of India, when they came to know that, oh, these brands are available in India, so they started calling our head office and they were like, can you please share your portfolio of products? What products do you have? What is your brand portfolio? And suddenly then I realized that I cannot be doing business on WhatsApp and telephonic calls. I mean,
Yeah.
what do I explain to them? I mean, I have 10 different type of helmets, 10 different types of helmets, 50 different types of colors. I have bike bags, I have 20 different types of bicycles in stock. What do I explain to them? How do I convey to them what do we have in stock?
Mm.
So that's where I thought that, okay, now I think we need a website. So I invested, I think, very little money back then it was an Indian startup who were into e-commerce. So I used their platform. The name of the startup was Zeppo.
Mm.
So I used their backend platform to just make a very functional website, nothing fancy. I
Mm.
didn't know anything about creating websites. I'm a chemical engineer. I don't come from an IT background,
Mm.
but I'm very bad at delegation.
Mm.
But I'm getting better at it. Of late,
Mm.
I'm getting better at it. I have to. There is no other choice. But predominantly, I'm a very control freak guy. So it's very difficult for me to delegate. So everything I want to do on my own. So I thought that, okay, this website also I'll build on my own. I started doing some research on Google. Luckily, these days, Google can teach you anything and everything if you want to learn. So I started researching how to build a website. So I came across Zeppo. I built a very functional website where you just go onto our website, you will see the products, just the pictures, a
Mm.
short description, and a price. That was
Mm.
e-commerce for me,
Okay.
nothing else. And there was a functional payment gateway
Mm.
where you can go and pay by your credit card, because that was again a challenge when people used to call us, and when we used to send them the product pictures and description and details on WhatsApp or on telephonic call, and then they would ask us, okay, how do we make the payment? And even back then, if we give them the bank details, they will add the beneficiary, they will transfer the money. It was very tedious. So a lot of customers started asking us that, okay, can we pay by credit card? So we thought that, okay, a payment gateway is also very essential for us. So that's how our e-commerce built up. So we had a very, very functional website, nothing fancy. I with zero knowledge of digital marketing that was going on. Later, what happened, Sushant, I think in 2019, just before the COVID struck the world,
Mm.
I realized that e-commerce has a lot of potential. And that's when I came across a different e-commerce platform from Canada, Shopify.
Mm.
Then I immediately shifted my website, and by then I was very clear that it's high time that I learn the digital marketing myself. Although, no, it doesn't matter how good I am at my cycling knowledge, or at sales and marketing, but I need to project Mastermind in a better light on the digital platforms. So then I did my digital marketing course. Again, very bad at delegation. I could have hired digital marketeers, but I didn't. So I did the digital marketing course myself, and that's how I now today the website which you see, mastermindbikes.com, is completely revamped from the older version, again entirely made from scratch by myself. And then now I have a backend team who helps me to, maintain the website, to upload the products for basic maintenance, basic hygiene. But today we understand the importance of digital marketing. Today we take Google, Instagram, and all the social media digital platforms seriously. We never did that, maybe 3 years before, we never did that. So now we know that to grow our brand, it is very essential that apart from our retail network, we have to be very good at on the digital platforms. That's where the world is today.
Definitely. Are you finding that, in terms of your e-commerce versus retail split, are you finding one is growing faster than the other? Given that e-commerce is, India is a huge market, and I'm sure there's a lot of appetite in places where you're not present. Are you finding that e-commerce is growing much quicker than your retail stores, or is it not? That's not the case.
No. Even today, uh, India as a country will never move away completely from the touch and feel concept, Sushant. Maybe I would say in lot of products, our country has moved away from the touch and feel concept, because there are a lot of startups like Flipkart, Myntra, Amazon is doing very, very well in India, of course. So for a lot of products, people have moved away from the touch and feel. They buy, I see people buying apparels online, shoes online, a lot of things online. But when the product is very niche, I see people buying mobile phones online. But now what has happened is, if there are standardized products, like if I have to buy an Apple iPhone, doesn't matter how often Apple launches a new iPhone, I know it's a standardized product. Tomorrow, if Apple launches iPhone 14, I might not go to the Apple store to buy. I might just buy online because I know it's Apple, it's iPhone 14. Okay, fair enough. So again, that's a premium product. But if there is a premium product where the product is very new to the market, where the whole concept, the whole industry is very niche. A very fine example is a cycling helmet. Now it's a very simple accessory, there is nothing fancy in it. It's just functional. There are no moving parts. It's not an electronic item also. But a simple accessory like a cycling helmet, people even today still, most of them or many of them would prefer to go to the store, put the helmet on their head, see how it feels, look into the mirror, how it looks on their head, how it suits their face. Same thing with the shoes, same thing with the cycling jerseys, cycling shorts, because those products are very new to, still the premium products, I would say, not the entry level helmets. Of course, every cyclist in India will wear a helmet if they are going riding outdoors. But when it comes to investing in a premium helmet, so people will say that, okay, I'll go to the store and I'll check it out. So that touch and feel concept will take a lot of time to settle down, and maybe people moving to the e-commerce, especially in the cycling field. But if you ask about the growth, the percentage wise growth, of course we are seeing a much more percentage wise growth in the e-commerce, our e-commerce business, than our retail. That is there. But I would say the scale is still pretty much lower. Out of the total sales turnover which we do, I think today e-commerce is just contributing about 5% on the total sales turnover. My target is that someday it should contribute around 25 to 30%. Maybe in the next 3-4 years we reach there. We are trying our best to reach there. But today it's just at 5%. We are not very worried. We are not panicking at all. It is growing at its pace, because to push e-commerce, we don't want to compromise on our retail experience, because we are a very small team. Today, we don't have a separate e-commerce team and a separate retail team. It's a very small team. We are doing everything currently as a very cohesive unit. So we don't want to spend too much energies on e-commerce and spoil the experience in retail, because we have built our brand name in retail. So we would rather want to project ourselves. I would rather want Mastermind, a brand name, to be projected as that we are a retail company with a very good online presence. We don't want to be an e-commerce company with a little bit of a retail presence. No, we will always be consumer centric on the retail front, because that's where our industry is gravitating towards and will always gravitate towards. Because when you buy a bicycle, you will need service, you will need accessories, you will get components. So that human touch between the consumer and the seller in the bicycle industry will always remain. You will never be able to bypass that.
Yeah, definitely. That's very interesting to know. I know you mentioned a little bit about risk. Business always comes with risk, especially when you're starting out. And you mentioned that, when you started out, this was not a proven concept in India. So there was definitely a little bit of a risk for you. And also, when you're trying to go to like some, to sell it to retailers and things like this. When you spoke about this idea with your dad, and there was some risk involved, like in terms of investment, was your dad the primary investor in this, or like did you invest some of your own money in the business also?
No. My father was the primary investor. I would be very honest and very shameless to accept that fact. So it was I I would say the money which he invested in stock. We have done well over the last 7 years. So the money which he invested in stock, I remember the stock which we used to have in 2015. Today our stock levels have grown organically 12 or 13 times than what we had back in 2015. So we have always been very focused on plowing back our profits in Mastermind. I have been very, very fortunate, absolute destiny's child, I would say. I've been very, very fortunate with my family. I have never, had to bother much about the sustenance in my life, the basic sustenance of life. So I've never bothered to take back profits from Mastermind back home. So because I know that this is still very early. It's although 7 years of doing business, but it's still very early because I started early. 2015 when we started, as I said, we started before time. So I would say today is the time in India. Today, the level at which Mastermind is there. If I would have started Mastermind today, I don't think in the next few years we would have been able to reach the level where we are even today. So I think I am just reaping the benefits of all the hard work which my team has put in over the years. My entire team. There are of course a few members who are not there in the organization today. Some people are of course still there. Everyone, each and every person who has ever worked for Mastermind, it's been a very big cumulative effort to bring Mastermind to where it is today. So that is why I always keep the M of Mukund very separate from the M of Mastermind. I never mix both of them. I never consider myself the face of Mastermind, because I tell all my staff, even I am an employee of Mastermind, just like all of you. I don't deserve anything special from Mastermind. So if Mastermind does well, we all do well. If Mastermind goes down, we all go down with it. So it's as simple as that.
Definitely. Now, you did talk about a little bit about branding and marketing. I'm very curious to know. So I'm very familiar with the marketing strategies and branding strategies and the culture around that in North America and in the West in general. But would be very interested to hear how you see marketing in India and branding and building that brand in India, and what are some of the things that you do to really get the word out and attract customers?
See, I feel that in India the marketing. So every year I go outside India. I predominantly travel to Europe because of my cycling work. I also race myself. I participate in the cycling races. I participate in the triathlon races. So I have seen the European culture of cycling. I have not seen the American culture of cycling too much because I haven't participated in any race in the US. But the culture in Europe is, of course, very deeply ingrained, I would say. and I have seen it very closely. So the marketing, the kind of branding which happens in Europe, is abroad, it's very different compared to what happens in India. India is yet to reach the Indian consumer, I would say, is yet to reach a stage where they can themselves be a good judge of the product. So marketing and branding becomes all the more important in a country like India, and we have to be honest with it. That's what I tell my team, because today Mastermind has attained a level, a culture, a pedestal where whatever we suggest to our consumers, more often than not, they buy it. So with that privilege, a very big responsibility has come to Mastermind. Now, whatever new brand which we bring in Mastermind, it becomes our responsibility to research about the brand and bring it to India and present it to the Indian consumers. Over a period of time, over the last 7 years, Mastermind has brought some of the very niche brands in the world of cycling. I mean, I'm sure many of the Indian consumers wouldn't have even heard about the brand before it came to India through Mastermind. So in those cases, it becomes all the more important that what ethics we are bringing on the table, what values we are bringing on the table. So marketing and branding in India, it has a lot to do with your character, and not about the substance which you put outside on Google and Instagram or social media. It has a lot to do about your integrity, your character. If that is shown in your behavior within the store or even on social media, the way you talk to the consumer, that itself is your branding and marketing. Till date, I don't remember sponsoring any event in India. We have not sponsored any athlete of India. Uh, you know, I haven't gone out. I haven't put out any holding in the public place of Mastermind. I have never given out some paper pamphlets, or even we don't even do email marketing. I would love to do it because it's digital and my focus is on the digital in going forward. But till today, we haven't done any of that. No email marketing, no WhatsApp marketing. So of course, I'm not proud about it. I have to do it. I want to do it. But having said that, still Mastermind has been able to generate this brand value because of the character, because of the integrity which the entire team of Mastermind shows towards the consumer. That has been the biggest marketing and branding in India, because no matter how loud you shout on the rooftops, that we are good, it doesn't make you good. But the same time, what I see in Europe is a little bit different. There there no matter how good the product is, but if it is not shown in a very premium spotlight, people don't accept it. But India is very different. If the product is good, if the seller is good, I don't think Indian consumers care whether that product is seen on TV or who is using it, which popular cyclist is using it. Even today, cycling is not even at the stage where we have where we can have brand influencers from Bollywood or some cricket stars, or we are not at that stage at all. I don't think we will even be at that stage 5 to 10 years down the line. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the Indian consumer because they buy from a person. That is why, again, I come back to the same point. That is why retail is so important for us, because e-commerce, even when I study the data of our e-commerce, I see many consumers who have already bought from our retail shops, and then their second or the third or the fourth purchase is from our website. Very rarely it happens where the first purchase of a particular consumer is from our website. So the trust which we have built in our retail store, that trust is being transferred to our website, to our e-commerce business. So the whole marketing and branding, I always say, we haven't spent, to be honest, big amount of money on marketing or branding. We haven't spent, not big. I don't think we have hardly spent anything, I would say, in the last 7 years. But it's our work. our ethics, our culture which we bring, and the kind of honesty which we exude when explaining the products to the consumer. I mean, we come from a background where we don't need to do sales for the heck of it, because we very much understand the fact in Mastermind that today you can sell a wrong product to a consumer because the consumer doesn't have the knowledge today. But the moment the consumer walks out of your store and he goes out riding his or her bicycle out with his friends, out of his 10 friends, one friend will definitely be knowledgeable. And if we have cheated the customer, it's game over.
Yeah,
That customer
yeah.
is not coming back ever. And if we do not do that, if we are loyal to, if we are honest with the customer, if we show our ethics while selling the product, that's the best branding you can ever do, I feel.
I agree. I mean, being an Indian myself and knowing my parents and how they shop and things like that. I think because India is such a relationship-based culture, and I think it's so important to build that trust. And once you have that trust, it's kind of like you have created um, a long time customer, and as long as you have that trust, the customer will keep on coming back and buying again and again. Now, you did mention a little bit about your team, that you have a small team right now, very cohesive. Can you share a little bit about what your team looks like right now, and who does where you spend
we
a lot of uh, effort?
we are a 22 member team, I think, today. I would love to be a little more than that across India. I would say sales team, the head office team. We have content development team at the head office. We have accounts team, the one who handles. I call them the three musketeers. We have three ladies there who handle
Hmm.
all our accounts, our finances, everything. They are the backbone of Mastermind, the three ladies who are sitting in the accounts department. Then there's the content development team. As I said, there are there's a supervisor manager who overlooks all the retail stores. Then there is a logistics manager. He has one assistant manager, and all the stores predominantly run on two-member team. There is one store manager and one technician. So uh, I spend a lot of time, of course, in the head office in Mumbai, but uh, as I said, right now I'm in Pune, so I'm visiting Mastermind Pune for 5 days, and next month I go to Bangalore, then Chennai, and then I go to Gurgaon. So now I have consciously decided that every quarter once, I have to visit the stores which are outside Mumbai, because what's happening is I spoke a lot about the culture of Mastermind. So when I say the culture of Mastermind, I very strongly feel that the culture should remain constant. It should remain the same throughout Mastermind. I mean, the experience for a customer cannot be very different in Mastermind Mumbai compared to Mastermind Chennai or compared to Mastermind Gurgaon. There will be,
Hmm.
of course, little differences. That's fine. We cannot run on the McDonald's model that wherever you eat the burger in any McDonald's, the taste is the same, the experience is the same. Of course, we cannot run on that model. But having said that, the experience cannot be hugely different between the two stores. Like if you're buying a particular bicycle from Mastermind Bangalore, and if you're buying a particular bicycle from Mastermind Pune, the buying experience cannot be too different. So that's where our focus is now, to streamline all the Mastermind stores. Every store in individual capacity is doing fantastic. It's doing very well, but that does not mean that we just take satisfaction from the financial numbers which are coming from the store. I am a person who wants to take satisfaction in knowing that every Mastermind is running with the same discipline, the same culture, giving the same experience to the customer. As I said, I'm a control freak. I'm very finicky. If I have my way, I would even keep the same water bottle for the customer in every Mastermind store. So that is the level which eventually I would want to reach. How possible it is, how efficient it is, time will tell. But that's where my focus is for the next 1 year, to streamline all the stores. And I think once that that streamlining process happens, the financial numbers will also get much better than what they are today. Because when we equip our managers, our team, with the knowledge, with the processes, I think they can do even much better. They are very capable of doing much better than what they are doing today.
Definitely. In every entrepreneur journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. Over the last, 9, 10 years, whatever you've been learning, building this business, can you share, what comes to your mind as like a big mistake or a failure, and what have you learned from it? What can other entrepreneurs learn from it?
I would not say, of course, there have been very big lessons, Sushant, if you ask me. And most of the entrepreneurs I meet, or I hear them, often tend to shy away from such a question, because the world has become such that your success is always glorified, and your mistakes and your learnings are often looked down upon. But I don't come from that school of thought. I would rather openly share my learnings and mistakes, rather than what I did right. Because I feel if there is more of that in the world will become more beautiful. Because I don't want to know what others did right. I would rather want to know what they did wrong. So I think more than so I don't regret it. Of course, the learnings which I had, they were very good learnings. I would share that in businesses, whenever you take any step, to all the young entrepreneurs, I'll say this: there will be a time in your journey as an entrepreneur where you will have to take a step back. It's like a game of chess. You're on a chessboard. It's not that you can only always move ahead. If there is a need, please step back. In my case, it happened in 2021, last year. So we had 7 retail stores across India, out of which two stores were in Gujarat, Surat and Ahmedabad. So I consciously decided to shut down those 2 stores. So we had 7 stores and I cut it down to 5.
Okay.
It didn't impact my top line. It did not impact my business top line at all. It did not impact my business bottom line at all. In fact, it was better in a way. So the reason to shut down those 2 stores is eventually what I realized, that those 2 stores are taking a lot of bandwidth of our team. Because both of those stores were profit making. They were not loss making. Both of them, Surat and Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad was doing quite good, even better than Surat. Good cities, both of them, good buying potential, good disposable income as well. There was absolutely no problems. But what happened is, those were the first 2 stores outside Mumbai. When we started expanding Mastermind outside Mumbai, those were the first 2 stores. So what happened is, I, as the founder of Mastermind, connected on a personal level a lot with the consumers there, which was, I think, a big mistake on my part at that time. Because at that time I was I was very worried about my baby Mastermind. It was like a baby I was nurturing. So I thought that, okay, I should be the face of the Mastermind. Today I don't want to be. Today I consciously don't intend to be, and I have moved away from that quite nicely in the last few years. But back then I always thought that if I am not there, Mastermind will suffer. So in those 2 stores, when we launched it on the opening, even while running those 2 stores, I personally took a lot of interest. I started interacting with the customers over the call. So then what happened, the culture which was set in, the precedent which was set in, was very wrong. So I tell all the entrepreneurs, it is very important to connect with the consumers, but when the time comes, it is also very important to disconnect with the consumers. You cannot always stay connected and you cannot always stay disconnected too. But there has to be a very, very fine balance. That is the beauty which I enjoy in e-commerce, because it is faceless. It is faceless. The support chats which you see on the website, you don't know who is talking. So many times I handle the support chat of my website, and but people don't know who is behind the support chat. So what happens is, in those two stores, it was taking a lot of my bandwidth. So if I have to work 8 to 10 hours a day, out of 10 hours, I realized that 6 to 7 hours of my bandwidth, those two stores are occupying.
Okay.
Because if business was happening at a lot of emotional and mental cost, which I was not willing to pay. So then we consciously decided that, okay, we have to shut down those two stores. We don't want to serve the community there, because at Mastermind, we very strongly believe that we are genuinely the best bicycle service providers in our country. People can accept that, not accept that. They can agree with us, disagree with us. Of course, there will always be the both the sides of the coin. But our belief internally, not boasting of ourselves, but we genuinely have to believe that we do not have any competition in India. If we are competing against anyone, that's ourselves. So then, if our belief is so strong that we are the best, then we didn't want to serve the consumers who are not the best. So to get service from the best, I very strongly believe that you have to be at your best. I learned in my MBA days that customer is the king, but I don't teach I don't teach that to my staff. I always tell my team members that please never treat the customer as a king. Customer is your guest. Customer is your guest who has come to your home. So the customer cannot mistreat you. Customer cannot take advantage of you. Customer cannot insult you. Because when you get guests at home, they cannot come and insult you inside your home. But they are guests. You have to treat them well. So at Mastermind, we have to treat our customers very well. You have to take care. You have to give them the best hospitality on offer. But if they do not respect you, do not bow down. So I tell all my team members, all my store managers, that do not be afraid to show the door to the customer if you do not get the respect. Because if a guest enters your house and the guest starts disrespecting you, would you entertain that guest any longer in your house? Would you entertain that guest again in your house? No, right? So have that same attitude in front of the customers. It's your home. You are the king. Customer is your guest. Treat them very fairly, very nicely. Give them the absolute best hospitality which you can, but please maintain your respect. So in the two stores which we closed, we were not getting that respect. The consumers were not able to understand in those markets that what is the level of Mastermind in India, what is the culture of Mastermind which we are wanting to set. They were not able to accept that. And when that was not happening, we took a step back. So as I said, I don't regret it. It was a very good time. In fact, the region Gujarat, it is very good to visit in winters. I miss that. But having said that, I would say it was the best decision which we took in the history of Mastermind, stepping back. So I tell all the entrepreneurs, sometimes stepping back will be the best decision which you can ever take. And it will, in the future, it will only help you to grow. After shutting down those two stores, we got so much bandwidth to work on the remaining 5 stores that our remaining 5 stores started doing so much better than what they were doing before. So it was a very, our e-commerce business, it started doing so much better than what it was doing before, because we had time on our hands. Our mental energies were so free. Our bandwidth was so free that we were able to concentrate on things which matter rather than, wasting our time in things which do not matter.
I think that's a really great lesson for any business to learn. Now we're going to quickly move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions and you have to answer them briefly, maybe 1-2 words or 1 sentence or so. So the first one is, one book recommendation that you would recommend to entrepreneurs or business professionals.
I would say Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. It's
You know,
beautiful.
the
Absolutely.
interesting thing is that book has been recommended by so many. I think that's probably the most recommended book on my podcast. Um,
Yeah. Wow.
Probably for a great reason. Yeah. And
If you're,
innovative.
I would just add, sorry, if I can add just one more book. So
Yeah.
there is a book by Prashant Desai. He's a very close friend of mine, like my mentor. So he has written a book called The Biology of a Failed Venture. It's a beautiful book, because as I said, in our world, the success is always glorified, failures are looked down upon, but that man has not shied away from sharing his failure. It's a beautiful book. I would urge all the Indians who might watch this podcast to read that book, The Biography of a Failed Venture by Prashant Desai.
Awesome. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about? Product or idea?
In India, I would say Garmin, because I think that brand has so much potential in India. So much potential in India. I haven't seen a more technologically sound company, better technologically sound company than what Garmin is. And it is doing already quite well in India. The distributor is a very close friend of mine, but I'm very excited in the near future what Garmin can achieve in the world of smartwatches, bike computers, excellent GPS devices, just next level.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
Oh, Google Workspace. I swear by it. I've always used it. Uh, uh, so, I mean, I don't think we would survive without Google Workspace. Our email, our backend, Google Sheets. I think for anything and everything we use Google on our backend. For maintaining our notes, life is so easy, and that is the reason I use an Android phone even today. Many of my friends sometimes tease me that, oh, you're still not on Apple. With no offense to Apple, great product, but because of Google ecosystem in our business,
Hmm.
I always keep on upgrading my Android phones. So yeah,
Okay.
without Google Workspace, I think we would be nowhere.
A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
Ah, business person, I would say my father. uh, I haven't met a more shrewd, more disciplined, more hardworking business person than him. We have, of course, not had the very best of relationships, I would say. Uh, we love each other's company. We love to have long conversations, but it's not been a very easy relationship because of a lot of factors. But having said that, if I have to judge him as a businessman, I would not rate anyone higher than him. Maybe I'm partial because he's my father, but yeah, the exposure, the learnings, all free learnings,
Hmm.
free advice, free education, which I have received from him. I think many of the things which I've learned from him will stay till I'm alive.
Awesome. And last question. Best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
So I received it a few days back. There was this gentleman named Murlidharan Nair, if I'm not wrong. He's he's one of my sister's friend's father. Yeah, Murlidharan Nair. It's in Hindi. He said that, सोच से सृष्टि है, सृष्टि से सोच नहीं है.
Hmm.
So we were talking about valuations of startups in that conversation. We were talking about equity, we were talking about investments, we were talking about scale, and that's when he said this, that Mukund, soch se srushti hai, srushti se soch nahi hai. So with your thought, the world will align with you, but
Hmm.
don't align your thought with the world around you.
Yeah.
So very deep, very philosophical, but yeah, if I actually inculcate it in my business, it has given me a lot of clarity over the last few weeks, that I have stopped worrying about the things which are not in my control. I would rather do the things which are in my control to the best of my ability. And I think everything will just fall in place.
That's awesome. That's awesome advice. Thank you so much, Mukund. Those were all the questions that I had for you today. Really, really appreciate you joining me on the podcast, sharing your story, sharing, the business e-commerce in India, and yeah, thank you again for your time today. Really, really
Absolute
appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Sushant. Absolute pleasure. And I wish you all the best. I just hope I have done justice to your podcast.
It was really great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sushant. God bless you. Bye bye.